Alright, we're going to start this video off with what I think is a pretty interesting question when it comes to Star Citizen development, and that's, do players know what they want? And the reason why I think this is such an interesting topic with Star Citizen is because of the open development and how Star Citizen gets feedback, gets all this input from players on stuff that's in the game, not in the game, and all that, and how open they are with it, and to see how the devs use it. But the question is, with them getting all this feedback, do players actually know what they want? And is Star Citizen getting good feedback and the feedback that it needs? And what really kind of sparked this idea rolling around in my head is I heard a story kind of on this topic. It was a guy that discovered that people wanted chunky pasta sauce. And how it was such a success because none of the other pasta companies, except for the one this guy worked for, realized that, so they started selling chunky pasta sauce and they made a killing on it. And it wasn't because they weren't not selling chunky pasta sauce because these companies didn't want to sell it to people. These companies had spent a lot of time and money trying to figure out what people want to try and get that leg up on their competition for that. Now, the reason why they couldn't find out is because people either didn't know they wanted it or they were lying about it. And that's where this guy comes in, and he was able to figure out that, hey, these people didn't know they wanted this, or hey, these people actually do want this, and this pasta company was able to make a killing on selling something that a lot of people didn't even know they wanted. And now, what do I mean about like what people lie about what they want and stuff if you ask them for feedback on it? And I think a great example of this is if you ask people how they like their coffee, most people are going to tell you they like strong black coffee. Where if you actually look at the results, only about a quarter of the people like strong black coffee. So one of the questions you have to ask yourself in the Star Citizen feedback is, are people being 100% truthful about all their feedback? Now, the next part of this is, do people know what they want? And for the most part, I think most players of Star Citizen know what they want. They want a big open world space game with fun space combat and stuff like that. I think where you come into a little bit more of the problems is when you get to the smaller details. Now, I'm not trying to tell anybody, hey, you don't actually want this, this is actually what you want. But this is more me speaking from experience over the years of me thinking I want things or not knowing I wanted things, and how that ended up for me. So I'm just going to go through a few examples real quick on times that this has happened to me. So back in the day when I played Oblivion, I knew that I really wanted another huge open world game to play after that. I had the basic idea, I wanted it to be bigger, I wanted it to be more epic, I wanted it to be better. And I got it in Skyrim, and it delivered on all those fronts for me. But the things I got wrong about when I was playing Skyrim was I thought I wanted armor that basically made me invincible, and I thought I wanted a weapon that could one-shot everything. So I did this boring smithing enchanting loop that allowed me to get armor that basically I took no damage when I got hit, and I one-shot everything. And I spent a lot of time doing that so I could play the game the way I thought I wanted to play it. Now what ended up happening to me is I missed out on a lot of cool aspects that I would have really enjoyed in the game, like looting, doing quests for cool, unique item rewards, exploration. All this stuff felt pointless and hollow because I already had better gear than anything that the game could offer me. And it just really led to a pointless experience where I spent most of the time of my time playing in the game just doing this boring smithing enchanting loop to essentially ruin the game for me. And I think anybody that's played a game where you had an invincibility cheat code and put it on found that they soon after they did that, they lost interest pretty quick, is another good example of that. Now, the kind of a problem with that, though, is even though if I would have played the game, or played Skyrim, the way the developers intended me to, I would have had a lot more fun. However, devs aren't always right, and I think there's been quite a few examples of that in Star Citizen, but I think probably the best example I know off the top of my head is engineering in Elite Dangerous. It is an extremely frustrating system for the most part. Now, there are some good things with it that give examples of the other one. Like, there's one thing where you have to fly 5,000 light years away to unlock an engineer, and this pushed me towards using the Neutron Highway, which ended up being a fun and rewarding experience for me that I probably would not have experienced without that. So that's an example of how engineering actually did something and pushed me to do something that I actually enjoyed. But unfortunately, for most of engineering, it's not like that. It's very boring, repetitive grinding just for materials, and it forces you into this gameplay loop time after time, because it's not like you grind this out once and you're done. No, for every single ship that you want to engineer, or if you just want to change the build on your ship, or maybe you just want to do different guns, you have to go back and do this over again. And it's just this boring, time-consuming, extremely easy, not fun gameplay loop. And that's an example of how devs can add something to a game that really is, it makes a great game not nearly as fun as it could be. Now, on the other hand, there have been a lot of experiences that I did not know I would like until I actually tried them out. And specifically, or more specifically in video games, Elite Dangerous was one of those experiences for me. At first, when my buddy was telling me about it, I was like, I have no interest in playing a space sim. It sounded really boring and like something I wouldn't enjoy and just like a complete waste of time and money. Well, he finally convinced me to play. Within like the first 2 hours of playing and messing around, I was completely hooked. And this was an experience that I did not think I wanted at all. But it ended up being a very enjoyable experience and ultimately led to me making a YouTube channel on space games. Another example of this was the idea of Dark Souls wasn't appealing to me. Just a game that was extremely hard and punishing and all this stuff did not sound fun to me. But I went over to a buddy's house, he had it, so I tried it out, and it ended up being like a huge amount of fun, and I've been enjoying FromSoft games ever since then. All the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, just really have enjoyed kind of everything that FromSoft's put out in that series since then. But I didn't think originally that a game without a difficulty slider that was just meant to be punishing was going to be something that I enjoyed. So, kind of pulling this back into the Star Citizen development and how it's open and players get all this input in the game, it can really be a two-edged sword in my opinion. On one side, it keeps developers from putting stupid stuff in the game that they're too close to the system to really tell, and players are like, no, that's horrible, don't do that. But on the other hand, it keeps stuff out of the game that players think they won't like, but would end up being a major asset, and like you just miss out on a hugely amazing experience that would be a lot of fun and add a ton to the game if they didn't have that input. And also another issue is they can have input on small details that could potentially make the game worse overall. Now, I think there's a pretty good example of this going on currently in the game, and that's with the multi-crew. And people really are concerned with the solo ability of ships in this game. Like, you see this in every ship questionnaire. Hey, can will NPCs be able to do this? Will NPCs be able to do that? Can server blades take care of this? Can server blades do that? And it's because a lot of people don't want to be pushed out of their comfort zone into playing with other people, whether it's just they don't have any friends that play and they don't want to get involved in a group and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, having stuff that can really only be done in multi-crew will enhance the game. It'll push people into getting communities, which I think will, for the long term of the game, really add a lot and keep people around playing with their communities and enjoying the game significantly more overall. But I think that's just kind of one example of how this open development can kind of influence Star Citizen in a potentially negative way. Like, obviously that's just my opinion, I'm not 100% sure. And I do think there should be a lot of stuff that solo players can do in the game, but ultimately I do think there should be things that are locked behind having a multi-crew experience. Now, I do think there are some very helpful changes for Star Citizen to really get the best of both worlds, where you can have that player input, but it's not so overbearing that stuff gets left out of the game that would actually be significantly more fun. And this is where they're talking about introducing stuff into the game when it's more fleshed out, when it's a little bit more developed. I think this will allow players to be kind of more surprised with stuff that they maybe didn't know that they would enjoy, but turn out to be massively enjoyable for them. But at the same time, it's not going to come out so far in development. Changing it would be just this massive undertaking that just wrecks so much that it's just too late to change. I think this is a good compromise to really try and get best of both worlds, and I'm pretty excited for this new development change, and we'll definitely be watching it to see if it works out like I'm hoping it will. So, kind of like the closing thoughts, I'm not trying to make any real strong points about how Star Citizens may be doing this wrong, maybe doing that, anything like that. It was just some thoughts I had, and I thought I'd throw together a video and see what you all had to say. So be sure to comment your thoughts on this down below, and thank you all for watching the video.